Okay, so this is a retrieval of a 1-page long etude that is within my technical capabilities. And for the last 2.5 days, I did nothing but trying to learn it from memory without really practicing it, applying it, contextual interference, because I got the notion that I think I waste a lot of time with contextual interference. So like practicing stuff in different ways, like for example, like practicing like this, or stuff like that. I think this has its place, but what I found is that it doesn't really help that much with getting the stuff better quickly. I think this is like a recipe that you can apply when something doesn't work at all, or when you want to improve your technique, for example, with scales. If I want to play it fast, I can't play it quickly. So I wouldn't have to do as much contextual interference, except for when I want to play it more fluently and stuff like that. And Greg always told me a lot of times, he noticed in my playing that the problem isn't really technique or encoding, but rather retrieval, recall. So the problem is more like a memory problem. And maybe some or most of the stuff that I practice that just doesn't seem to get better, like for example, this part. It doesn't seem to get better, even though I practiced it a lot. And I think this is the same problem that a lot of people have, and that I just found out through experimenting. Because if the retrieval part is the problem, because I can play all of those chords, problem seems to be that I have more problems with getting it together than getting it right in the first place. So what I've been doing with this new piece, and this is like a piece that's fairly easy for me because there's nothing new for me. So a lot of the stuff I could play at a very high tempo, but not in this configuration. I never played this etude. And what I've been doing is just separating the hands, first of all. I think a lot of problems arise, for me at least, and I think for a lot of people also, when trying to practice hands together. That's a very high cognitive strain, and maybe it's too much for our brain to efficiently process. I've been trying to learn it like 2 measures at a time. Just playing it a few times until it gets stuck, and then instantly I tried retrieving it from memory, like closing the eyes, closing the iPad, and playing the stuff from memory as slow as I have to. To get it right. And just do it for like 1 minute per section, and then forget about it for the next day. That's the important part. And then the same for the left hand. And after I had the whole piece down, hands separately, then I started, today, I started putting it together. So what I will be doing now is play the whole piece from memory very slowly, and I am allowed to make stops in order to play the correct notes instead of playing the correct tempo or rhythm. And I will be trying to remember it hands separately. The idea behind this is that if I have it in my memory and I can retrieve it efficiently, then a lot of the problems that might be only retrieval problems and not technical problems will eliminate themselves. The problems that will be left over will be technical problems, which I can then precisely practice. And again, some of you that might watch this may say, yeah, that's duh. Okay, duh, but to be honest, for me it wasn't that clear. I may have intuitively practiced like this on my main instrument, guitar, because I'm much more familiar with it. But I haven't practiced piano like this. I still got pretty decent at it because I played a lot and I practiced a lot, but maybe not efficiently. So as you guys know, this channel is about my personal journey to improve my practicing by applying basic scientific principles and understanding them, but also connecting it to ancient wisdom and experience of my teachers. And I know a saying from a teacher at my music school. I didn't have lessons with her, but a student of her told me that she said, a lot of times, if you can play the left hand of a piano piece from memory, you can play the piece, which is funny because a lot of times the right hand has the melody in almost every music after the Baroque era. And usually it's very easy to remember, but we practice it a lot. Like you practice your arpeggios in your sonatas. And you totally forget to practice the left hand. And when you put it together and it doesn't stick, maybe the problem isn't with the right hand, maybe it really is with the left hand, but since you're putting it together, you're having a problem with the whole piece instead of just the left hand. So that's my thought process behind this. Enough talking. I'm trying to retrieve it now, and then we'll see how it goes. I'll close my iPad and start. So I made a couple of mistakes, but only small ones. So a lot of the stuff I could play quicker. And I think the tempo at the end should be... Yeah, so this I will have to practice, of course. But I think with my old practice method, and the method that I sometimes also used in my videos beforehand, I would have started practicing this with contextual interference and like deliberate practice far earlier than I maybe would have needed to. So of course, I could improve upon some stuff. For example, I always played this here with the wrong, first of all, one note change was wrong because I have to let this note ring while I play this. So I corrected this now. Maybe we'll correct it 2 or 3 times again. And I didn't really watch for the melodic and dynamic phrasing. So for example, in the etude it starts in a piano. And it goes up and down the dynamic range. And for example, the other part here. Okay, that's slower. So those are things that I didn't look out for right now, because this method of practicing is still pretty new to me, so I didn't want to overload myself. So what I would do next would be to remember maybe the dynamic phrasing. So how this would look is, for example, now that I can play it, I would look again at the sheet music and say, let's just take the first 2 measures, which are repeated 3 times, right? So at the beginning I have this. And then later in the piece, in the third part, it repeats itself, right? When I came down here. Whatever. And it always has the same dynamic. Sorry, I don't know how what the correct musical term in English would be. So the dynamics, just say the dynamics. So it always starts in the piano, it goes up, I think, until a mezzo piano, maybe even a mezzo forte, and then it goes down. So what I would do is, now that I know it, I would retrieve it in this form 2 or 3 times maybe. So I would start in the piano. Yeah, okay, maybe slower, but the idea was correct and I went down. So once again, a little bit slower. So now I retreated with the correct dynamics. And then I would go through the piece. And I think once I'm a little bit more familiar with this, I can start memorizing the measures and the phrases with the correct phrasing and articulation right at the start. But yeah, that's the process now. So I won't be practicing this today. I will retrieve it tomorrow to see how good it is, and then I will start working at the technique, if there are some critical portions. So for example, I always mess up this here. And it still feels a little bit janky, so I might... Yeah, whatever. So like this precise solving of problems that Greg always talks about. I think this is, and this is where I hope that I can get the message across, that this isn't like, oh man, he's looking at all the scientific gigabrain stuff. He's like those guys in the science-based lifting community that think you have to do like this perfect rep instead of training hard. No, that's not the case. I'm trying to apply science while building experience. And I think a lot of this stuff is experience. So it's something that you have to have experienced to have in German you would say verinnerlicht, internalized, to really use it correctly. So yeah, that's the purpose of this. So what I will do now is do the same thing for another piece that I'm practicing. It's from Tom Lehrer. It's called Oedipus Rex. You may have heard about it. From the Bible to the popular song, there's one theme that we find right along. Of all ideals, they hail as good, the most sublime is motherhood. There was a man, though, who it seems once carried this ideal to extremes. He loved his mother and she loved him, and yet his story. So maybe you know it. It goes like. Also, same idea. This is like a small piece that I just do for fun because I like it, and because I don't know if I have already talked about it. My main subject in college right now is what we call school practical piano playing in German. So in Germany, if you want to be a teacher at a high school, you really have to study music, especially for high school. So it's not like I study piano or I study guitar and then I become a teacher. But we have to go through a special program that's more broadly oriented. Like I'll have my main subject, which was guitar and singing and conducting and all that stuff. But I also have stuff like, playing the piano, also so in a classical context, but also in a context of accompanying a class while singing, or accompanying a singer, maybe a student on a school recital. Yeah, whatever. And for this, I just want to have a couple fun pieces. And this is one. It's technically quite easy. It just has some, for me, unusual rhythms and stuff. For example, like the two measures that I had right now. And yet his story is rather grim. So the what is a little bit unconventional for me is I'm very used to. But there are some parts that are just not usual for me, and I know that this is a retrieval problem. So let's try it. Correct. Let's try again. And also always connect to the next phrase. Okay, so it worked now. I will retrieve it next time. The next part is the verse, and it goes like, I'll try it from memory. There once lived a man named Oedipus Rex. You may have heard about his art complex. His name appears in Freud's index, 'cause he loved his mother. Okay, and so usually you would accompany it like. But here in the accompaniment, the melody is also in the right hand, so it's like. So also no technical problems whatsoever. It's just a retrieval problem. I can play all of this I'm technically able to play all of this because there are no new movements. It's not like a Chopin etude where I would have like, I don't know, like an arpeggio that I've never played before, like, okay, this doesn't sound like Chopin at all, but just for the sake of it. There I would have to practice it, for example. But here the problem is just retrieval. So what I will do is I will retrieve the first two measures. Just the right hand. One mistake. Nice. And once again. No. Yep. Right hand. Once again. Okay, once again. Okay. Now the next two measures, also hands separated. Damn, my hand looks very unrelaxed, but yeah. Right hand. So it's all totally manageable, and I most likely won't even have to do contextual interference, like. But it helps. Now the parts together, and maybe one retrieval will suffice for today. So I will do the same thing. I will retrieve it tomorrow, hands together, before I will think about playing it. For example, like this part here. Technically far more challenging. I still have some stuff left, but funnily enough, I practiced this like with contextual interference. And it didn't get really better, but I practiced retrieving it a couple of times, hands separately, and that's very, I have to underpin this. The hand separate thing is really important because it reduces the cognitive load enough for me to focus on it. And now I can play it in a fairly okay tempo without having practiced it really. I still have to. I will have to check if this is correct, but yeah. Okay, so enough talking. Left hand. Right hand. Works fine. Now, if I'm trying to put this together, I think it would be much harder. Let's try it once. So I did make a mistake, but I corrected it. So let's give my brain a couple of seconds to wire this stuff together and try it again. And when I get it down, I'll start practicing it. That's one of the problems. I practice the stuff, I think, too much, which is why I don't make that much of progress. Nice. Okay, next page. And the stuff there is very similar. Left hand is the same. But this is different. And the right hand is. So, his name appears in Freud's index 'cause he laughed. Yeah. basically it. So. Yeah. Once again. Once more correction. And I'll just switch between looking at it and doing it from memory as to not overload my cognitive framework. So this is the problem. Aha. Okay, trying to retrieve all of it with this again. Okay. Yeah, and I think I'll stop it like at this point. Maybe I'll practice a little bit longer, but I don't want to upload over half an hour every time. So yeah, that's the stuff that I'm practicing right now. And I think when I get better at this, this will apply to other stuff. So what I will try is after I've learned the etude from memory, I will test this again with some other stuff that is also very short, maybe like a Bach invention or a small Mozart piece, just to train myself in this method before I will apply it to other stuff. There's a lot of stuff that I'd like to practice, and yeah, maybe it will work for stuff like, let's see, I always wanted to, yeah, that's something that I started working on last year. Like a fantasy piece of Schumann that I never conquered really. And I'm getting the feeling that this has to do something with the retrieval stuff. So I might be onto something. I'll keep you guys updated. Peace.